Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
ABC Wednesdays, Shifting Gears is back.
He has arisen.
Tim Allen and Kat Dennings return in television's #1 new comedy.
What?
With a star-studded premiere including Jenna Elfman, Nancy Travis, and...
Hey, buddy!
a big home improvement reunion.
Welcome.
Oh, boy.
That guy's a tool.
Shifting Gears, new Wednesdays, 8/7 Central on ABC, and stream on Hulu.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. One order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Hey all you heroes, hawks, heralds, crows, pirates, and wardens. Welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we unpack, discuss, and galaxy brain about all the lore behind the Dragon Age series.
We are so excited to bring you this podcast. Every episode, we'll be talking about a different topic in the Dragon Age universe, from character deep dives to exalted marches and elven gods. We will cover it all.
There will be spoilers. And always remember, swooping is bad.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we talk about Dragon Age and its lore. I'm one of your hosts, Austin, also known as Teacup.
And I'm your other host, Shelby or She-Cup.
That you are, and we are back with another lore episode of the Dragon Age Lorecast. We are continuing in our theme of games, holidays, entertainment.
Yeah, all things entertainment, all things cultural of Thedas.
Yes. Lots of fun. And today, it's time to get into a cheerful mood because it's the holiday season in Thedas.
It is the holiday season. It's the most wonderful time of the year in which we are talking about all the holidays, all the different calendars, and all the different ages.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I didn't even know there were holidays in Thedas until we started doing this podcast.
That is incorrect, because on our Dragon Age patron chat for December 2023,
I meant
think.
Until we started the podcast.
Oh,
like
okay.
Overall.
Okay. I thought you meant until this episode. I was like, no, you did, because on such and such date, we had a patron chat where we did trivia, and I had holidays as a question in there, whatever. So I was like, let me bring out those receipts, because I know you knew that. But anyways, let's get into the fun facts. So the first one is that according to David Gator, the month known as August in Thedas was originally intended to be named after Andraste. Now, you might be raising your eyebrows in confusion, but this is because it came from an earlier point in development when Andraste was known as Augusta.
I'm really glad they changed it for a lot of reasons, but mainly because, like, to name a character who is so famous for liberating slaves and proclaiming, like, a religious uprising against a powerful empire, picking the literal tyrant dictator of the Roman Empire as a namesake doesn't vibe.
That is an excellent point. And moving right along. So, also according to David Gator, there is an in-between year when you transition to a new age. This year belongs neither to the new or the old age. However, there are several instances in which the lore forgets this or is disputed, and we're just really not sure if that's true anymore.
I think, like, with the Dragon Age world, it is so vast sometimes that, like, throwaway lines in, like, codexes or even in novels, like, get forgotten in the larger narrative because there's just too much to remember.
That's so true. That is so true. And, like, I don't know about you, I have done this before because of who I am as an individual. But if you ever start digging through the fandom page for Dragon Age and just looking into some of the, like, ancient history and some of those pages, there's stuff I've never even come across in the game. And, like, it's all citations. Like, it's got its sources right there. But I'm just like, this is so deep. Like, this goes so far back. It is shocking.
I will say this, the wikis for fandoms in general are not always, just like with regular Wikipedia, like, it's just people editing it, so they're not always up to date. But Dragon Age is one of the better ones that I've dealt with.
I totally agree. You look at the Assassin's Creed one, and I'm like, wow, this is dog water compared to the Dragon Age.
Yeah,
peeps.
I normally do use the Assassin's Creed wiki, but for our current season, I just have to rely on, like, going into the game and finding stuff and looking at, like, IGN walkthroughs and stuff. It is dog, like, it's
dog water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, my last fun fact is that there is, again, some discrepancy on how many days are in a year in Thedas. So the World of Thedas Encyclopedia states that each year is made up of 12 months with 30 days each. However, the Prima Officia Game Guide agrees with this, but adds that there are 5 holidays that exist outside of those months, which adds up to a total year of 365 days.
Okay. I like how the official game guide is cited as a source.
I use it as a source all the time. It's canon.
I know it is. They don't make them anymore, you know?
I know. I do. I mean, I think we do lose something. We don't get these, like, little extra tidbits anymore. But at the end of the day, I'm also like, we don't really need it. Like, it's just cost versus profit for those kinds of things. Especially, I understand why they would cut that.
Print is expensive.
Very true. All right. So let's get into the lore. So first we're going to talk about the calendars in Thedas. But before we get into the different, like, this is how things are organized, I want to just go over the ages really quickly because we're going to be talking about kind of a lot of this. And it's just also important information to know. And so I want to go through each age really quickly with the names and the years that it corresponds with and just, like, some major events.
So before we start, just a clarifying question in here. The ages are 100 years, right?
Yes. 100 or 99. They go from 0 to 99, so 100.
And then they reset.
Yes, correct.
So we're dealing with, like, the age dating in this calendar, as we've seen in games, is like 744 Storm.
Correct. And then there's a colon between the 7 and the 44. Yeah. So we're going to go in reverse order of newest to oldest, starting with, of course, the Dragon Age, which is the events of all the games. And you can go play those for yourself. I'm not going to get too into it. Going back to the 8th age, which is the Blessed Age. This is the Orlesian occupation of Ferelden, basically takes up almost all of this age, starting in 824 and ending at the end of the age.
So is what's his name? I can't remember the puppet king in Orlais.
Megran.
Is he ruling Ferelden for all that time?
No, I don't think so. That's the start is when they start like the war, basically. Not it's not like, okay, Orlais walks into Ferelden day 1 and conquers them immediately.
Yeah, we always talk about like the devastation of the things that happen in the Dragon Age, but like compared to some of these things that happen in these earlier ages, there are relatively short crises. Like
That's
the
fair.
Fifth Light is only a year, and I'm pretty sure Veilguard isn't much. I think Veilguard's like a couple months.
No, I think it's longer than that.
And I know Inquisition from start to finish, including Trespasser, is 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's 3 because I think. Well, there's a time
940 to 942.
There's a time skip between the end of Trespasser and the beginning, or the beginning of Trespasser and the end of Inquisition.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, no, you're right. There are a lot of there's crises in every age, which I think speaks to the reality of like our world, that there are crises in every age. But I mean, I compare it to history. So like, yeah, bad things happened in the 1800s. Yeah, bad things happened in the 1500s. But like, let's look at the first half of the 1900s. You have 2 world wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Korean War and the Cold War that are starting it up too on the latter half of that. So it's like there are some periods in time that just have more going on.
And it's important to note that like with the world wars, like they're much longer than like U.S. involvement when we talk about this. Like the U.S. always gets involved at like the end of the war. Like World War II starts in 1933 by officials, or 39. I think it's 39. Starts in 39 by official like standards. And I don't think we get in there until 41. Those conflicts are a lot longer than we really think about them. And like, especially the conflict in World War II and like Hitler's rise to power starts much earlier than like World War II actually kicks off.
Well, and the reality is that Hitler's rise to power starts in World War I with the aftermath.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's all tied together, and that's how it is in the Dragon Age universe as well. So let's get into the 7th age, which is the Storm Age. In this age, the first Qunari War happens. Actually, it doesn't happen. It's ongoing from the previous age. And in response, the Orlesian and Imperial Chantries band together for the first time in centuries to declare the new exalted marches against the Qun. And Grey Wardens are banished from Ferelden, and the Qunari Wars end up finalizing. They end after 3 successful-ish exalted marches. And then moving right along to the Steel Age, which is the 6th age, Queen Madrigal of Antiva is found murdered by 4 steel swords, hence the name of this age. And this age is dominated by the Qunari's arrival in 630. They conquer most of Tevinter, Ravane, and Antiva, forcibly converting people along the way. Dragons even go extinct, rumored, at least.
Obviously, we know dragons don't go extinct, because if they went fully extinct, like, how do they come back in the Dragon Age?
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm just more convinced of, like, I never made this connection before, but is this related to the fact of the Qunari landing there and they have this obsession with dragon hunting?
I don't know. It's possible. But we also know that, like, the Navarans are also obsessed with dragon hunting.
That is
so
true.
I don't think it's just them.
It is interesting that it's the Steel Age that sees the arrival of the Qunari, like, within, like, the first third of it. But it is not until Storm Age that they actually try to do something about it.
Well, that they're successful in even doing anything too.
Right. And like I guess we could count the Veilguard as a time that the two chantries worked together, but like by the end of the like are there chantries even
right
left?
I don't know. I didn't hate the game, but I'm just gonna say this as a caveat. I didn't hate the game, but I sometimes ignore the lore drops from it.
Yeah, I just think that the chantry got forgotten in the Veilguard.
I don't think forgotten is the right word.
Left out.
Yeah,
for
like
time.
Deprioritized is maybe the right word. Which is unfortunate because we could have had some really interesting conversations, discussions around like, you know, a religion finding itself again, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But moving along, we got what we got and we'll be happy about it. To the fifth age, which is the Exalted Age. This one is named after the continuing exalted marches against Tevinter and is defined by the fourth blight and the extinction of griffins. Ferelden is founded in 542 with Kalinad's great unification of the Alamari tribes.
This is a big age. You have a blight. You have a couple exalted marches on Tevinter and the founding of Ferelden.
I know, it's crazy. And like this always... I read The Last Flight and I don't think, oh, Ferelden is just getting started.
Right.
It's so crazy to me, like, and it's really not true that they're just getting started because like they are around, they have existed, they just like haven't been unified into one thing yet. But like Orlais has been organized for 500 plus years. Tevinter's been around for over 1,000.
Right.
It's just wild, the difference in history.
I feel like when you look at Tevinter, Orlais, and Ferelden, and I know sometimes we say Tevinter is the America, but like if we really compare it to like the European continent, Tevinter is very like Roman Empire.
100%.
So Roman Empire coded. And then like Orlais is so French, just in general. I mean, they even have French words. But then like Ferelden is so England. Like even the thing of like, when you think about Alfred of Wessex and like he is trying to
unite. Great unifier. Yeah,
he is trying to unite all of these different little kingdoms that exist all over Britain into one unified England.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a lot of similarities, right? And then like obviously Antiva and Ravane are Spain and Italy. Like, yes, there's just a lot of similarities, but I see a lot of crossover in all of them. Like there's a lot of French inspiration sometimes in Navarra too. There's a lot of America in Tevinter, and I also see some America in the Free Marches. But that is not our topic for tonight. Maybe that'll be a good patron chat. So let's get into the fourth age, which is the Black Age. This one, the Orlesian Chantry calls for 4 exalted marches against Tevinter. We mentioned them in the fifth age, but they start in the Black Age. And so they're doing this in order to bring Tevinter back under the Orlesian influence. Every single one is going to fail. They fail to take Minrathous. It just furthers the divide. And they have also started fighting against the Alamari in this age, which will also fail. And they do this in order to kind of take back Andraste's homeland. So this is a bad age for Orlais.
Right. And like I've heard this comparison before in the fandom of like comparing the Exalted Marches to the Crusades. And like I see the comparison. They're a little different in my opinion because like a lot of times like the Exalted March against the Qunari is really about Thedas' survival at that point is how they see it. The ones against Tevinter I can see more.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and this war with the Alamari, like did they not learn from the Exalted March on the Dales that like this is not generally not a good idea?
Fair. Apparently they did not learn.
Orlais just really wants Ferelden, and Ferelden just
doesn't.
And
they want to be their own thing,
and they're not gonna go down like
yeah.
They're gonna Orlais will have to burn Ferelden to the ground before they surrender.
Well, and I think they know that now. Maybe not Gaspard. I think deep down he does.
It doesn't matter now.
Well, fair. Like I said before, I ignore the events of the Veilguard. Let's get into the third age, though, which is the Towers Age. And this is when the Grand Cathedral of Val Royeaux is completed. The third blight strikes. The Imperial Chantry officially splits from the Orlesian Chantry and elects its own divine, labeled the Black Divine, and then they declare the death of the Orlesian Divine a holiday in Tevinter. So, again, not a good time for the Chantry. Well, actually, some good times for the Chantry when they finish the Grand Cathedral. Everything else not the best for the Chantry. In the second age, which is the Glory Age, this one is really defined by tensions with the elves. We have the Exalted March against the Dales, and it's successful. It forces the elves to either wander or settle into alienages, and then they call another Exalted March against Tevinter to lift the occupation of Starkhaven. And the first Circle of Magi is annulled in Navarra in 283. So that is the second age. And then we're getting back into the first. Yes.
I just want in the lore, because we're ignoring the Veilguard at this point. I've just accepted that the Veilguard doesn't exist.
Okay,
in this.
perfect.
Are there circles outside of the necropolis in Navarra?
I would imagine so. Yeah. I mean, Cumberland is in Navarra. We know that's where, like they convene all the time.
That's true. I just wondered, like, do the Mortalitasi in the necropolis, is that their circle? Or are they also a part of a circle at that point?
I don't know. I would imagine that, well, we know Emmerich grows up in the Grand Necropolis. So I don't know. That's something I'll dig into. But let's move on to the first age, which is the Divine Age, which we've talked about many a time. This is when the Chantry becomes an organized religion under Emperor Draken I. Justinia I is crowned as the first divine, hence the name. The second blight strikes. Draken uses his victories to grow Orlais' territory. The Navarran Accords establish the orders of the Templars, the Seekers, and the Circle of Magi. Grey Wardens convert to Androstianism. I almost said Catholicism. And the Chant of Light spreads throughout Thedas. Big age for the world.
It is a big age for the world. I think it's one of the reasons that like Justinia is like they decide to call this the Divine Age is because of the like founding of the Chantry and all of that.
Yeah. So then the last age that I want to talk about is the Ancient Age, which is everything before 10. So these are all negative numbers. And
this is where our 100-year dating gets a little funky.
Bad, yeah. Minus 1,579. Yeah, it's rough. This is pretty much everything else. The rise and fall of Elvenon, the creation of the Dwarven Tigers and the Deep Roads, humans arriving on Thedas, the first blight, the formation of the Wardens, Andraste and her war. Like all of this is all in the Ancient Age.
Yes, big age, which I guess, you know, if we're really going to talk about this, the Veilguard is the first time that we see events of the Ancient Age depicted on the screen.
Yes, that is true.
I mean, through murals and through flashbacks from Solus, but we do see them.
I mean, I do believe that is accurate and what actually happened. Like, I don't think he's lying.
I don't either.
All right, so that is how the current calendar is structured. I want to get into a little bit more about it, which is basically it's the most common calendar out there. It's the Chantry calendar and is used by every country except for Tevinter. Its first year commemorates the appointment of the first divine Justinia, like we just mentioned. Anything that comes before that is the Ancient Age, and then it's measured in negatives. It's almost exactly like BC and AD. And if you've been around the podcast for any length of time, you've definitely heard us use the Ancient Age, talk about it, refer to it in negatives.
Yes.
Now, the significant one that is different is the Tevinter calendar, and it's also called the imperial calendar. It actually predates the Chantry calendar by about 1,000 years. It begins at the founding of the Imperium when the first Archon was crowned. This occurred in 0 TE, which is equivalent to about minus 1195 ancient. Tevinter did briefly use the Chantry calendar after they had converted to Androstianism. However, they changed it back to the imperial system after their schism and the exalted march of the Tower's Age. Similar to the Ancient Age, anything prior to 0 TE is measured in negatives.
Of course they have their own calendar. I mean, like, it makes sense. All these different groups have their own calendars or whatever. My favorite thing is the fact that they attempted to use the Orlesian Chantry calendar, and then they were like, "Oh, you're gonna be jerks to us?
Never
We're going
mind.
back to our own calendar."
I know. Yeah. Tevinter gonna Tevinter. That's all I have to say. And then the last calendar I have to mention is the Elven calendar, which is the oldest and most obscure calendar there is. And it's almost entirely unused. Most don't know it exists. And its only use is really among scholars and academics. It begins with the founding of Arlathan as its year 0, which is noted as 1 FA, equivalent to minus 6405 TE and minus 7600 ancient. This is also the earliest recorded date in Thedas history.
Interesting. Now I want to know, like, how long is it between Solus and the Evanuris, like, taking on their physical forms and the founding of Arlathan?
Yeah. And which came first?
You think it's millennia?
I have no idea.
Or,
and how long before how long did it take between Solus locking them up? Did it take for Arlathan and Elvenon to actually fall? Because we know that wasn't instantaneous.
No, because Solus talks about, like, watching it happen.
Exactly.
And, like, not something that came in and, like, I think it's something that slow starts, and by the time the Imperium comes about, it's just like, that's just the final push that it needs.
Yeah, I agree. Which makes, the some of the harsh fighting that the Tevinter had to do against the elves kind of embarrassing for them, frankly.
Right. Well, or just how impressive the ancient elves were.
That's true.
Pre-Veil.
Yes. So, okay, let's get into the months, unless you have more to say about the calendars.
I'm
okay.
good to go.
So, due to the differences in the calendar conventions, each month has a Tevinter name and, like, a common name. These are also known as the high and the low names. Commoners typically use the low, quote-unquote, low name, while Tevinters and some courts use the high name. We also know that a lot of these names for the months came originally from names that were affiliated with the old gods, whether it was their actual name, the constellation they represented, and other stuff. So, month 1, what we know as January, is Varamensis, is the Tevinter name, or Winter March. This has the holiday First Day. Month 2, which we know as February, is Plutonus, or Guardian, and has the holiday Winter's End. Month 3, which we know as March, has the name Nubilis, or Draconis. Month 4, or April, has the names Eluviesta and Cloudreach. Month 5, May, has the names Molioris and Bloomingtide. It also has the holiday Summer Day. Month 6, or June, has the names Ferventus and Justinian. Another Roman influence right there. Month 7, or July, has the names Solus and Solus.
That's your month.
That is my month. Month 8 has, which we know as August, has Matronalis, that's hard to say, and August, coincidental, And it also has the holiday of All Souls Day. Month 9, or September, is Parvulus and Kingsway. Month 10, which we know as October, has Frumentum and Harvestmere. Month 11, which we know as November, has Umbralis and First Fall, also the holiday Saturnalia. And then last but certainly not least, month 12, which we know as December, has Cassis and Herring.
Interesting. I was sitting here, I was like, man, there's almost a holiday in every month. And then I started thinking about our calendar.
We have holidays in every month.
We do. August was the only one that I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing typically like celebrated in August is like the back to school season.
Right. But like, I mean, September has Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
October, Halloween. November, Thanksgiving. December has
everything.
All the holidays. January, New Year's Day. Martin Luther King Day in the U.S. February, Valentine's Day. March, St. Patrick's Day. Any other spring holiday. April
Fool's Day.
Easter sometime in March. May is Memorial Day in the U.S.
May Day.
Mother's Day. June is Father's Day.
And June is also
Arbor Day?
No, I think Arbor Day is in May. June also has Juneteenth.
Oh, yeah, Juneteenth. Oh, September also has Veterans Day, right? Or is that
I think that's in November.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, so there's about a holiday.
I think August is the only month that doesn't really have something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's everything we've got with calendar. Do you have some overarching thoughts before we go to our mid-break?
I don't think so. I mean, I think a lot of it is self-explanatory. I can very much tell, like, the age calendars make sense. I do think it's interesting that the writers decided to adopt a 12-month calendar. I mean, that makes sense because, like, Western world uses a 12-month calendar, but, like, it didn't start as a 12-month calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it started as a 10-month calendar.
I know, and all of our, like, last months don't align with their numbers.
Right, because they inserted July and August as names for Julius and Augustus Caesar, and they threw everything off.
Yeah, they did. All right, well, let's head to the mid-break.
All right, let's do it.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Experience a membership that backs your business journey with American Express Business Platinum. When you pay with membership rewards points for all or part of an eligible flight booked with a qualifying airline through Amex Travel, you can get 35% of those points back, up to 1 million points back per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
That is uncharacteristically wise of you.
Yes, well, don't let it get around. I have a reputation.
We hear odd stories of Templars in the Imperium, Dorian.
All true.
I haven't even told you what I've heard.
Doesn't matter. All true. Particularly the part with the grapes and feathers.
Oh, I was leading towards that one, actually.
Please, go on. First, Talon. What? Seeing if you've got the hang of your new title yet.
Right. Me. First Talon.
If you join the Wardens, you could become the first Warden who's also First Talon.
The first Talon Warden.
Or First Talon First Warden.
Is that the first Talon who is a Warden, or the first Talon First Warden?
So many possibilities.
Welcome to the Mill Show, where we take time to thank our patrons. Thank you to all of our patrons. We had a great patron chat last week. It was super, super fun talking about the what ifs. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, you can do that at patreon.com/DALorecast. You can also support us by leaving us ratings and reviews on Apple or Spotify. If you leave us 5 stars and some kind words, we will read out your review or comment on a future episode of the show. And today I have a comment on our Dreadwolf episode from MB that says, currently hyperfixating, obsessing about this Eggman, and I am so excited to hear this. Well, I hope you really enjoyed the episode. That one, I think, that's the Elven God one, right? Yes, not our soulless character deep dive. All right, so yeah, I hope you enjoy that. I had a lot of fun with the Elven Gods episodes, especially just bringing in a lot of other mythologies and stuff, and so I hope you enjoyed that. And then last thing I have for you is for us to join our Discord. Come hang out with us in the Cups Podcasting and More Discord. You can do that, and we can hang out, and you can find that link in the episode description. And that's all I have for the middle of the show, and so I think we're ready to get back into it.
Dripping in gold? That's cool. Dripping in Velveeta's supremely creamy golden cheesiness? That's respect. Elevate your drip with Velveeta's range of outrageously delicious dips and dishes. Shells, cheese, melty blocks, and heat and eat queso that go all in on indulgence. Flex on your fam with a creamy, cheesy masterpiece and go all in on what you love with Velveeta. Respect the drip and satisfy your cravings. Bring home the drip with Velveeta.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
This reminds me of a story.
Shocking.
It's about an impossibly handsome dwarf and his friend who got crowned King of the Nugs.
A Nug King? Really?
It's not as good as it sounds. Nugs mostly just shit on the floor and roll in it. Welcome to the deep roads.
Is it me, or is this the slowest lift ever constructed? It's better than climbing down.
I could do with some music. Something with a flute.
How about we skip this one? Send your man instead.
How about I shove a canary up your coal mine?
Oh, you fear barbarians will swoop down upon you.
Yes, swooping is bad.
Okay, so now that we're back from the middle of the show, I want us to get into the holidays, which we did mention before the break. So most holidays in Thedas have some similarity to holidays in our world, as well as some holidays from history and particular religions. So I'm just going to go through them. I think these are organized as they occur throughout the year, so chronologically. So first day is the beginning of the year, which is similar to New Year's Day. And Thedosians typically visit their neighbors and their families on this holiday, as it began as an annual checkup on your neighbors in rural and remote areas, basically to make sure that your neighbors were still alive. Now, though, it's more of a time to commemorate the year that's passed, and they celebrate with drinks and merriment like we do on New Year's Eve. Some areas, particularly Orlais, traditionally consume chicken on first day. Again, similar to us, in some areas, at least of the United States, we can consume black-eyed peas, collard greens, and ham on New Year's Day.
Yes. It's good luck.
It is good luck. It brings good luck and financial prosperity. Hasn't worked yet for me.
Nope, me either.
Okay, so moving on to Winter's End, which was originally named Earthalis after Earthemiel, the old god of beauty. While this holiday once celebrated the old god, it has now become a celebration of the Maker as well as a celebration of the end of winter. It's marked by tournaments and contests at the Proving Grounds in Minrathous. Meanwhile, in southern Thedas, it's more of a celebration of like trade, theater, and even arranging of marriages. Which makes sense that it's in February when we celebrate Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Summer Day, which was originally named Andaralis after Andaral, the old god of unity, this holiday is now Summer Day. And as you can guess, it's a celebration of the beginning of the summer season. Typically, it's a time when couples get married. And when not celebrating a wedding, which does happen, it's just a time of joy for everyone. In addition to marriage, it's also a time where they celebrate children coming of age. So those who are ready for these ceremonies wear white gowns and tunics. They then participate in a process throughout their town that culminates in their arrival at the local chantry where they are taught the responsibilities of adulthood. Unclear what exactly that means. I'm sure that the fanfic writers can come up with some options for us. Also important to note that this holiday is particularly important in Orlais, where the coming of age portion is seen as more of a holy occasion. And so it's very, very important in Orlais.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, reminds me of, like, if you think of other coming of age ritual things, like a lot of times confirmation serves that in more like Catholic-esque style churches or a bar and bat mitzvah, those kind of things like that.
I was thinking of, what are they called? They do it a lot in the South, but my family wasn't rich enough to do it.
Oh, the cotillions.
Yes, cotillion, and like where the girls wear the white gowns and they have to have a boy escort them.
Coming out party.
And yeah, they have the coming out celebrations and they have to wear the fancy, beautiful gowns at the second half and learn all the dances, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mix of all of those things, honestly.
Yeah.
The next one, which I want to talk about, is All Souls Day. And this was originally named after Dumat, the old god of silence, and was originally Finalis. This one was perhaps the first thing to be renamed, especially in the aftermath of the first blight. But this holiday is also the one whose origins as a celebration of an old god are most well known. A lot of the other ones are kind of more rumored. However, most Thedosians simply ignore this inconvenient fact, pretending that there are absolutely no ties between the old gods and any of their holidays, especially this one. Now, in the current age, it's spent in somber remembrance of those who have died. The World of Thedas Encyclopedia says, quote, "In some northern lands, the people dress as spirits and walk the streets in parades after midnight. These northern lands, I presume, are Navarra." Also, the Chantry's celebration of the holiday is focused on the death of Andraste, where they light public fires to mark her immolation at the stake. Now, I want to talk about this one because this one, probably more than any of the other ones, is the most similar to holidays in our world. It's extremely similar to the Christian holiday of All Souls Day, even the same name, which celebrates the faithful who've died that year. And it also bears similarities to the Mexican Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. Both holidays in our world feature fire in the form of candles. In the Day of the Dead celebrations, they often walk through the streets going to where their loved ones are buried and taking like flowers and stuff. So there's a lot of similarities between this one and our holidays.
One that I'm surprised you didn't mention is Good Friday.
Yeah,
in
that's
the very
true too.
last one with Andraste and remembering her death at the stake and all of that.
Yeah, great point. I didn't even think of that. Good Friday, for those of you who don't know, is when Christians celebrate the crucifixion of Jesus being killed on the cross. So again, there is some major similarities there. But one thing that I just want to point out that's interesting to me, with the exception of Good Friday, both All Souls Day and Day of the Dead happen in October, but All Souls Day in Dragon Age happens in August, the month that has no holidays in our world.
Right, exactly.
So we're going to move on to the next to last one, which I have is Saturnalia. And this was once dedicated to the old god of chaos, Zazakel. It's now dedicated to Thedas' second moon, Saturna. If you didn't know, Thedas does have 2 moons. Do I want to make my sassy comment?
Sure.
Although it seems like BioWare also forgot that Thedas had 2 moons, since the second moon was not present in Veilguard. Anyway, Saturnalia features wild parties with masks, and participants typically name the town fool, if you have one, as the ruler for the day. In Antiva, Saturnalia lasts for an entire week, followed by another week of fasting. In more conservative, pious locations, it's less about partying and drunkenness and more about feasts and giving gifts. That's why it's also known as Feast Day in some areas. Fluffy mackerel pudding made of mackerel eggs, onions, and celery is a staple dish of the holiday. I think that sounds absolutely disgusting, and I know Austin does too because he hates onions. But I want to talk about the similarities of this holiday to the Roman holiday of Saturnalia, which is a pagan week-long festival that celebrated the god Saturn and was marked by continuous partying and gift-giving. Another holiday that it's similar to is Mardi Gras, which is a final celebration before entering into a time of penitence during the season of Lent, which we just talked about. Part of Lent is Good Friday. Lent is the 40 days leading up to the celebration of Easter, when Christians celebrate Jesus' resurrection. So the whole time is penitence, like you're focusing on fasting and like trying to better yourself. And so Mardi Gras is like that Tuesday, the day before Lent starts on Ash Wednesday. You eat all the bad food, you drink all the alcohol, you do all the fun stuff that you're not going to do for the next month and a half till Easter rolls around.
So this is a question that you may know or you may not know, because I'm going to pull on very limited knowledge that I have.
Of Thedas?
No, of our world.
Oh.
The holiday that's sometimes called festival, like that is also Mardi Gras in that. Like that's that time. Like think about Hunchback, where he goes down to the festival and like he's declared the fool for the day. I think that is like similar roots of that, but I'm not 100% sure.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Festivus, which is December 23rd?
No. It's the event that happens in Hunchback of Notre Dame. Maybe they call it the Festival of Fools.
Feast of Fools.
Feast of Fools.
Also known as Topsy-Turvy Day. I don't know what holiday that's supposed to be. It was a feast day on January 1, celebrated by the clergy in Europe during the Middle Ages, initially in southern France, but later more widely. And then they did elect either a false bishop, a false archbishop, or a false pope.
So you get some similarities in there. I just thought about that because they elect him like king of the festival.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent.
No, you're good. I mean, it's all related. But I just think I always think it's interesting, the Roman connections between our Thedas lore, just because we don't often think about that. Like, yeah, we talk about Ferelden is England, we talk about Orlais is France. We don't always talk about some of these Roman and Greek influences as well.
You know, and like with just holidays in general, and I know we have one more, but I just want to talk about this. Like, I'm always impressed when fantasy worlds like create their own holidays, even if they are like similar to ours, because a lot of times they just like put a spin on like, this is Christmas, but it has slightly a different name and there's a different Jesus or something like that. Or even sometimes as lazy as wizards and witches who celebrate Christian holidays. Looking at you, J.K. Rowling.
Okay.
Like, Rowling, whatever her name is. Like, for real, like, would they really celebrate these holidays?
Well, I mean, to be fair, no, you know what? No, we're not even getting into it. I don't want to be fair to her. Great point, Austin. I agree completely.
Yeah. But like I'm thinking about sometimes in like you come in like Tolkien has his own holidays that is in there. Like even Paulini when he comes in, like there are different feast days that exist in the elven culture. And I think it's really difficult as like a world builder to build in your own holidays. And like what I appreciate about Dragon Age is that, yeah, there's a lot of similarities and you see where they pulled influence of, but they're kind of merging a lot. And these holidays really do kind of appear as their own kind of thing.
Right. And that's because with, I think, the exception of All Souls Day, there is no one-to-one comparison that like this is exactly like this holiday in our world. They each take on their a life of their own in Thedas lore. Like they're unique, cultural to the lore or to the universe as far as we know in the lore. And so it makes it different.
Right. And like the thing that I think when I look at all these holidays, and maybe we'll get there, and I know we have one little more to talk about, but like I feel like there would be recognition of blight days.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like to
like
remember
the end of this day was the end of the fourth blight.
Yeah. Or like even just like on this day, we remember the blights and those we've lost in there. Maybe in a post Veilguard world, they'd have that because the blights are over.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. I agree with you. That would be something natural in the lore for sure. So I want to talk about solstices and birthdays really quickly before we get into our side character. So both winter and summer solstices are celebrated, and we know that this goes back actually really far in Thedas history because the ancient kingdom of Barandur, which is one of the four kingdoms that made up Tevinter, they celebrated the winter solstice like with a gusto. And we also know that the Avar build altars that have hidden openings that align with the sun that rises only on the day of the winter solstice. And many commoners throughout Thedas decorate the villages for solstice and gather for dinner parties. So there are also some, more minor celebrations that may not be listed explicitly in the lore as like one of the major holidays.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And like the solstices are normally like when you look at cultures that especially start agrarian, which like there are urban centers in Thedas, and I don't want to downplay that, but Thedas is mostly agrarian.
Yes.
Like the winter and summer solstice are important days.
Yes,
like,
for sure.
that kind of, for growing crops, those are important days. The days you have the most sun and the days you have the least sun.
Yes. Well, and I mean, this is how I look at it. And I grew up on a farm. I have a garden today. The summer solstice is the height of your gardening season. And the winter solstice is when you can start thinking about your gardening season again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so birthdays really quickly. Birthdays versus name day. So in the Dwarven Commoner origin, in Dragon Age Origins, they use name day. Additionally, the official cookbook narrated by Devon also uses the term name day. However, every other instance is referred to as birthday. So we're not really sure. Maybe it's a Dwarven thing to call it your name day. Uncertain. There's some discrepancies there. But nonetheless, this holiday is presented as an occasion for celebration and partying and celebrating who you are.
Yeah, I think with like the discrepancy here is that name day is more about like a celebration of the person and like who, like when they were named, who they are, versus like birthday is a celebration of when you came out into the world. And like they're similar, but I feel like they're different.
I feel like the birthday is more of a celebration of like your age and how old you are, and like there's more of a focus on your age rather than the name day, which is more of a focus on who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Which, and like your name doesn't define you. It doesn't have to define you. But for some people, their names are important to them, whether it's the name their parents gave them or a name they chose.
Exactly.
All right. Well, do you have overarching thoughts about the holidays, the calendar, any of it?
I think I've said all I've said because I kind of did my overarching thoughts before we got into these two. But like just in that of, I really appreciate the depth that these holidays have in the lore.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our side character, which is Meriden. married in Halewell, which is an extraordinarily difficult name to say, just letting you all know. She is the minstrel of the Inquisition. Technically, she is a minstrel, not a bard. I want to make this as explicit as possible. She is not an Orlesian bard because she was not trained in the Orlesian bardic arts. Therefore, she is not an assassin. She is just a musician.
Is this a debate in the fandom?
No, I'm just making it very clear.
Okay.
I'm just making it very clear because when we say bard in Dragon Age, we have one image in our heads.
That is very true.
So she did join the Inquisition pretty early on in order to help spread word of the Herald of Andraste while also making a modest profit for herself. She also has a tendency to write songs after members of the Inquisition and their opponents, particularly Liliana with Nightingale's Eyes, Sarah Was Never, about Sarah, Samson's Tale, Selene with Empress of Fire, and there's a whole lot more too. Though, according to Sarah, her song was an unsuccessful attempt to woo her. But Sarah says she finds it creepy instead.
Oh.
I like Sarah's song. If I was Sarah, I would be flattered personally. But Sarah is Sarah, so.
Sarah's weird.
Yeah, she is. In addition to Meriden's locations in Skyhold and Haven, she can also be found singing in the Mask of the Lion Cafe in Valrio, as well as the upper garden of the Winter Palace during Wicked Eyes, Wicked Hearts. In Trespasser, she'll travel to the Winter Palace with the rest of the Inquisition. And lastly, if the Inquisitor makes Cole, this is not lastly, I don't know why I said lastly. If the Inquisitor makes Cole more like a spirit, he will play matchmaker between Meriden and Krim, or Meriden and Zither. If Cole is more human, he will match himself with Meriden, and then they'll travel throughout Thedas, working together to ease the pain of many people.
I like the second one.
Yeah, I know. I mean, all the options are good. I don't think it's bad either way. But Meriden performs 5 new songs in Trespasser, which are Companions, Fall of the Magister, Inquisitor, Scoutlace Harding, and Slightest. She is also, interestingly, the author of a book promoted by the Chantry titled A Garden's Grace, Songs of the Field, as well as a children's tale titled The Doggle Boon Behemoth, From Fables Under a New Sky, which we'll talk about that when we talk about our children's literature episode.
Interesting.
And I also want to say, in addition, we have another character like this. This is the last thing I have to say. Like Solus, all of her lines are written in iambic pentameter.
Is she an elf?
No.
Oh.
She's a human.
Interesting. Fascinating.
I mean, it makes her much more poetic, I think, poetic sounding than she would otherwise. But yeah, that's Meriden. I don't have a strong opinion on her because I don't feel like we know her super well. I like a lot of her songs. I tend to have a listen to them sometimes on. But anyway, so that's Meriden. Do you have thoughts?
I like Meriden. I like her songs. I think they're catchy. I think they're really great. Sarah Never Was is a really...
Sarah Was Never.
Sarah Was Never is really a really, really freaking catchy song. I feel bad that Sarah doesn't like it, but I really like her. I like the fact that the Inquisition gets its own little minstrel.
Yeah, me too.
That tells the story. Like I think like it builds the world out really well. I think it would have been really funny to have the hero of Ferelden have a minstrel that follows them around. I mean, I know you have a bard in Liliana, but I think that would have been funny. I think that it would be too sad in Dragon Age 2.
And the Veil Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need them all to be ballads.
Correct.
All right. Well, I think we are ready to wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this research. It was a great episode. I always love talking about Dragon Age. And thank you all for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at DA Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions, topics to unpack, or side character suggestions, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's easily the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. You can find us there on patreon.com/DragonAgeLorecast.
The Dragon Age Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Have you ever wanted to deep dive into the lore and stories behind all your favorite Marvel movies? Then do we have the show for you? I'm Captain Shenko.
And I'm Psych88. Join us as we dissect the media megalith that is the MCU. We'll talk about the origin stories, the fights, and everything in between.
The MCU Lorecast releases on all major podcasting platforms on Mondays as part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club and can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.